It's a brand new day, ay. Wake up every morning and say, it's a brand new day, ay. Take a good day, make it great, okay. Cause if you got some lemons, make some lemonade, yeah. Taste so
Welcome to Women of Abundant Wealth, where we aspire everyone to be healthy, wealthy, and whole. I am your host, Shamila.
And I'm Kathy.
Hey, Kathy.
Hey, girl.
Look who we got here.
Girl, oh my God, I love it. The tip jar.
Tip jar.
Yes.
So we're going to have tips in here for y'all. We got one tip.
We got one tip already? Okay.
One tip for the Women of Abundant Wealth tip jar. Let me read it.
All right.
And this is a health tip.
Oh, good.
So it says sleep helps your body repair cells and restore energy. The CDC recommends at least 7 hours of sleep for most adults, and that's from Google.
Girl, Google don't be playing.
Yeah, but you know what? I feel like they don't explain enough. I do want to kind of add to that. I thought about that later, because some people feel like they don't need as much, or they need more, and we have to put in account to what we eat, because the more you're eating or the more junk you're eating, the more that your body has to work when you're sleeping. And so even if you get like 7 hours, 8 hours, you may feel like that's not enough. So, you know, when you fast and things like that, or if you're eating clean, you may think you need less because your body has to work less to digest your food at night.
Well, let me say something. I feel like as you get older, as I'm a little older, I only require maybe 5 to 6 hours, and I'm pretty good.
That's good. Yeah, I don't need a lot of sleep. Lately, I feel like I've been sleeping a lot. I don't know if it's the weather or like my body's just, and I haven't been eating well either, so I think that's kind of the reason why. But
So you're
like my
not sleeping
sinuses
well.
have been
Yeah.
messing up. I mean, I've been sleeping well, but I just been sleeping longer than normal.
Really?
I think because I only need like 4 or 5 hours for me, and I used to eat really clean, so I used to be very energized throughout the day, and so I think, and I've always kind of been like that. Like it used to be hard for me to sleep at night, and so I would go to sleep late and wake up early for school. So I think my body was kind of used to that, and so but now I'm like I need to get back on that. I hate like I feel like when you sleep more, I feel more tired.
You do. You really do. You
Like
do.
I slept too much.
Yeah, because like on the weekends, I try to sleep in a little bit, but I'd be laying there like, oh my God, I got to get up. I try, but my body just won't let me lay there.
Yeah, I know. Normally it's like, even on the weekends, normally it's hard to sleep past like 7:30. If I sleep past 8, that's like, I don't know.
I know.
Wrong.
I had to
like,
really been
that's
up
kinda
late
now on
to
the
sleep
weekends.
past 8.
Even if I go to sleep late, I wake up early. Oh, no.
Yeah, I've had that happen too. Because some nights I'll be like up watching something on TV and be past midnight, gotta go to work, and I go to sleep and I wake up just fine.
Speaking of TV, you see how the weather was? Even the weather we had out here.
Oh man!
Like the snow, and I feel like it was snowing everywhere, like Atlanta.
It was.
Like places that normally didn't snow.
Like all over the East Coast.
Everyone was excited about that. I was excited too, but we
wasn't.
didn't get too much.
I do not like snow.
We didn't get too much snow here.
No, I didn't
Then they
get
did
much.
like
I got
a
dusting on
yeah.
my yard. Yeah.
Yeah,
But I had a friend, she recorded all the snow they had. She was out there making a snowman, stepping down in the snow. I was like, well, dang, how much snow did y'all get?
Right. I seen people like snow skating, skiing.
I know.
And somebody was kayaking in the in the river or whatever that was out here. I'm like, really? But every time I feel like people are more excited this time around than they were any other time. I'm like, what makes it different? Because last year, it wasn't exciting. I guess because it gets better, we're more prepared. Because that first time,
Right, you are more prepared.
I was miserable. My grandmother was like, "So you moving back?" I was like, "No."
And I'm glad it only lasts just a short period of time. It was like by Saturday, we were good. Yeah.
But those fires, though, that was sad.
Oh, in California, yeah. Okay.
And so you and I was talking the other day, and I was telling you how like I felt that it was wrong, kind of. So there are like a lot of celebrities' homes that are being burnt down, right? And then you go online and people are like, oh well, they have insurance. Oh, they have money. That's probably their $15. But I'm like, you don't know their situation because they could either be. You don't know if they're struggling. Because I seen one of the actors that he just had an interview was saying how he's financially struggling, and he's been in a lot of things. And I'm like, well, really? But you don't know what their financial situation is, and you don't know the memories that were left behind.
Exactly.
Like I was saying, like if anything, my mom has a lot of pictures from when we were younger, and if that all went away, that would be really sad.
It would be devastating. I have a coworker who has a son that lives in that area, and he has a fiance. He's about to get married next month, but they had to leave their home and go to a shelter, and she was very concerned and worried about them.
Yeah, that's scary. I have family out there, but they're okay. Some of them lost power, but I'm like, that's scary. Like that was a record of one of the worst fires in LA.
Oh my! Wow.
Because it was in different areas too.
Yeah.
And even like the outside of LA, all that. I'm like, man.
Yeah.
Too much.
It really is.
I just feel like everything happens all at the same time, right?
Right, it does.
Because, like, my family's from California, so anytime something happens here, it happens there. And everybody's like, oh, that's climate change. I'm like,
my family's in Illinois, and they had all kind of snow, too. They was calling saying, are you okay in the snow? I was like, I got a dusting on my yard. They was like, well, we getting 3 more inches on top of 6.
Wow.
I was like, well, okay, well, y'all enjoy the snow.
I don't know, that's like my family in Tennessee. They got like 6 to 8 inches of snow. My cousin was all excited because they just moved out there.
Oh
she
my
was
God.
like a snowman.
I am not trying to go nowhere where it's cold and you're getting snow. As I get older, I'm trying to move even farther away from here.
Right.
Probably moving to Florida.
Okay, well, I mean, you still gonna deal with some weather out there though.
Yeah, the hurricanes, but I'm trying to move to the area where they're not as bad. Yeah.
Right. Well, we do have a special guest. I know we say special all the time because all of our guests are special.
Yes.
But we do have a special guest coming up, so we're gonna take a quick break.
Yeah.
Well, welcome back. So we have our special guest here, Jaime. I want to say it wrong. McGinty?
McGinty, yes.
Okay, because I ain't good with names.
Girl, that was perfect. Jaime McGinty.
Okay, so I was trying to get this whole speech and stuff like that, but you know what? I'm just gonna say exactly what I see that you are. So I did my research and I see that you are a mother, you are a model, actress, very beautiful. You have a great personality, but most important. Well, not most important, but important. You have a wonderful story that you came here to tell us, and we are so excited. I was really excited when I heard, I heard a little bit about your story, and it really touched me. And I was like, oh my God, this is gonna be a good show. I was so excited to have you on.
Definitely.
And one of your quotes too that I want to quote, that really, Kathy brought this to me, and it says, what is it? I can't even read
Your
my own
story.
right. Oh, my story is my mess that God transformed into a message. Now, can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Amen. Oh my gosh. Well, you did your homework. I love it. I feel so good. You're so cute. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, my mess into a message. So I am here to talk to y'all about the elephant in the closet, which a lot of people don't ever want to talk about. And my story involves alcoholism.
Okay.
And I am recovering. I'm a recovering alcoholic. And those words, y'all, were probably the toughest words I could have ever spoken.
To say, I'm an alcoholic?
To say I'm an alcoholic, because that means, ooh.
Yeah, people look at you like you're sick or something.
Like you're sick.
I mean,
they
do call it a disease, but you're not contagious.
Right, exactly. And it's just like, so that was really tough because the minute I was like, oh my heavens, I'm powerless against alcohol.
So at what moment did you feel like you kind of hit rock bottom?
Okay, well, the thing that's interesting is for forever, I didn't think I had a problem because all I drank was wine, y'all. So I thought that Jesus turned the water into wine for me. And he did
You never drank any other kind of
I would have a beer here and there. But no, just wine was all. So I thought, well, if I'm an alcoholic, I'd be like having anything
like
that
a hard liquor or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anything that they put in front of me is what I'd be having.
Right.
Well, there's a different levels to it that people don't know. Sometimes you're alcoholic, or maybe you just have issues with alcohol.
And that is the point, and that is the key. That is the key, and that's where people really misunderstand is because you can be a heavy drinker, and then just stop.
Right.
Well, you're not alcoholic if you can do that. You know, I wasn't a huge heavy drinker, but I had to have wine every day. And it got into that vicious cycle of where my tiny little body became dependent upon the wine. And, you know, and so what do when you get there? Well, of course you hide it because it's shameful. You know, when you wake up in the morning, you're like, oh my heavens, okay. So here I am, a mom of 4, you know. I'm an educator, I'm this, I'm that, I'm, you know.
So were you able to hide it from your children then?
For a while, I mean, they would know that I was, you know, that I would drink pretty much every evening. I would have a glass of wine, 2 glasses of wine, 3 glasses of wine. And then the cycle became, you know, it's a progressive disease. And you mentioned, you know, disease, and it's a progressive disease. And so as I started using the wine, you know, first it was magical, like, oh, this is fun. It takes the edge off like, let's go. Then it became my medicine. Like, okay, now I'm having to kind of like use this because my anxiety is through the roof. And so this wine will calm me down. And then before I knew it, it was my master. I was owned by it. I would wake up and my little body would shake.
Oh, yeah.
Shake. And
that's a sign.
It's a sign. And I thought, heavens to Betsy, y'all. What have I done? What have I done? But I still...
Were you functioning?
Yes,
okay.
Functioning until I wasn't. You know, until I wasn't. And, you know, people started to notice. And my kids started, Mama, please stop. Please stop. And I wanted with everything in me, y'all.
I know you did. Especially
kids,
when your kids look at you and ask you.
To have my kids, my oldest, he's 21. He's a trauma flight nurse in the Navy.
Okay.
I know. He said to me one night, and this will forever be with me. He said, Mama, if you'll stop drinking, I've designed this tattoo, and it says, I love my mom. And I'm going to get that on me. Please, Mom, please stop. And I thought, oh my God, for it to mean that much to him. But it wasn't enough.
That wasn't your rock bottom?
I have a question then about that, because when it gets to the point where someone says something like that to you and you kind of feel more ashamed, does that make you want to drink more? Or did it make you
Absolutely. It's this vicious cycle where you don't want anybody to know that you're having to do this to survive. And, you know, it got to that point where I was like, oh my gosh, that, you know, I would host, you know, like little holiday parties and everything, and I'd be in the closet down in some wine.
Oh, wow,
you know?
yeah.
And then, and, you know, that's hard for me to say, but the reason that I came on here to speak about it is because it's really, a lot of people struggle with it. A lot of people stay in that hidden, broken shame.
And I don't think they know. Like you said, like I didn't know I had problems.
You
drink wine daily and they just think, okay, well, this is a part of my life.
This is a
and they don't think that it's an issue.
my life.
Because they drink and then they've never been to the point where they had to stop maybe.
Exactly.
And then notice like,
and that's the thing. Those are the 2 questions you have to ask yourself when you're deciding whether or not you're alcoholic is, number 1, can I stop on my own? And number 2, can I stay stopped?
Right.
And, you know, and the thing with me is I would be like, okay, it got to the point where I was like, okay, my kids are noticing, they're wanting me to stop, and, you know, I've got to stop for these babies, you know?
Right.
But then my little body would shake and I'd have the worst headache, and I knew the cure at that time, the only cure at that time.
So you
was
did say
wine.
you was an educator, but you having the shakes and stuff and going to educate these kids?
Yes, it got to a point where I was just feeling awful, and that was my rock bottom.
Oh.
Where I was like, over my dead body, am I going to have to drink and go to work? This is not acceptable. Enough is enough.
Yeah.
And so it was at that point where it was just the hardest thing I ever had to do, but I had to do it for those school babies.
Yeah.
I had to do it for
your kids?
For my kids, I had to do it. And so
For you?
For me. And it was at that point that I took a leave of absence in order to work on my own well-being.
Yeah, you had to remove yourself from that so you could get better.
To get help.
You went to like a facility, or did you?
So I did, and that was the biggest. That was the hardest thing because I was so good at hiding it. Everybody would be like, I'd go out with my girlfriends, and everybody be taking a shot, and oh no, thank you, I'm fine. I'm just gonna have a glass of wine. But I'd had a bottle of wine before I left the house.
There,
And just. It's like you're an actress on a stage. And I thought, I don't want to be this anymore. I don't want to be this.
Because you're not being real with yourself.
I'm not being real. And so I had to get past that shame, and just taking the leave of absence was incredibly embarrassing for me. It was horrible.
Do you have to tell them the reason for your leave of absence?
You don't have to.
Okay.
And so I was going through a lot of other issues at the time with my oldest was struggling with some things. And so I really needed, which a lot of it, looking back.
So it's more like family related what you told them.
Right. But stemmed from, my babies shouldn't have had to suffer the way they did with my wine drinking. And that's amends that.
And that affects them.
Absolutely. Whether I thought so or not, it absolutely did. And so I took a leap of faith, and I confided in my brother, and I told him I needed help. And God works in mysterious ways, because that was the worst mistake I've ever made in my entire life.
Why was that a mistake?
Unfortunately, and I guess this happens, but my siblings and my mother, they took my brokenness, my pain, and they, I don't know, used me at my weakest moment.
They use it against you.
Oh, yeah.
To use it against me. And so while I was in treatment, my whole life became unwound, because I said to my brother, you're my trusted one. You can go in. You can make the decisions. And it was
so he ended up not being the trusted one?
Oh, no, he was not the trusted one.
Oh, my God.
Nah, bro. Would you do that for
No.
So did alcoholism affect you financially?
Oh, my heavens. I have experienced the complete ruin of alcoholism. The complete ruin of alcoholism. Financially, my kiddos, ended up going to live with their dad. We were divorced. Wow. I mean, these are things that I never wanted, never.
Well, what do you think led up to the drinking, like the heavily drinking?
And that's the thing, is as I've gone through treatment and therapy and things like that, I had to get to the bottom of it. I had to start unpeeling that onion. And I'm saying that's kind of a tough job to do, you don't really.
Do you
want
call
to
that the white-knuckled sobriety?
Absolutely. Yes, you've heard the term. Yes, and you have to dig into yourself, and you have to realize,
Can you explain what white-knuckled sobriety is so that the audience will know what that is?
Well, okay, so when we talk of white-knuckled sobriety, what it is, okay, so maybe you're not drinking, but you're not staying in your steps. You're not getting to the bottom of why on earth you did this drinking to begin with. Why did I start this? Well, I suffer from huge amounts of anxiety, but people see me and they're like, oh, she's so peppy, she's so this, she's so that, but what they don't see that behind that is still that little first grade little girl who was terrified that nobody wanted to be her friend. It's still there. And that's why I have made it my mission to never judge anybody on the outside. And I think that's a lot of the reason why God has called me into why this has been my story, why things went the way that they did with my family. Because I wondered, Heavenly Father, I trusted, I trusted my brothers and my sisters and my mom, and now I haven't talked to them in 3 years
And
because
that
of this.
really make you want to.
3
It feels like
years.
did that feel like it make you want to kind of drink again?
Oh, and
Because that's like
that-
more trauma adding to the trauma you already would.
Yeah.
You're trying to
Absolutely.
peel these layers, but then there's the smack them right back on.
Right.
Smack them right back on. And that's exactly what happened. And unfortunately, in that, I relapsed 3 times.
Oh, wow.
3 times,
Okay.
you know? And I take full accountability for what I did as an alcoholic because, y'all, it is a selfish disease. I will be the
definitely.
first one to say that. And that's why I speak on it, because as alcoholics, we make decisions that are selfish. But it's not because we're ugly people. It's not because we want to harm anybody. It just becomes like, oh my heavens, this is a part of my life, and how do I get out of this hamster wheel that I'm on?
Yes.
How do I get out?
Yeah, we're going to take a quick break. And we're going to come back and talk some more about that.
Okay, awesome.
It's a brand new day. Hey. Take a good day, make it great, okay? 'Cause it
We're
is
back.
let's make some lemonade.
Thank you for joining us. So what I want to say is we want to pray for total healing and restoration for your family.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're
That
so welcome.
really means the world to me. That's all I ever want. That's what I want.
I know that last segment was like, yeah, it was a bit emotional.
Yeah.
I kind of got a little bit
Yeah.
choked up a little bit, but I do want to know, like, how do you feel that how everyone viewed you from the outside looking in?
You know, and that's where a lot of the selfishness comes in as well, because you want people to think, Jamie Lynn's got this together. She has got this, you know. Oh, look at her. Her Facebook is perfect. The kids are, you know, great at all their sports, and they're top of their class, and they're this and they're that. And
Just picture perfect.
just picture perfect. And she's always the one hosting all of the family get-togethers and the this and the that. And I thought, if I put up another Christmas tree, I'll be loved. I'll be more perfect. I'll be more this. And it became all of that, and none of it mattered. And what I wasn't doing was I wasn't being honest with anybody. You know, I wasn't being honest with myself. I was hiding behind that shame, hiding behind that brokenness, and thinking that if I told anybody what I was really struggling with, that I wouldn't be loved. And what I ended up having to find out, you know, is that the only love that is incredibly necessary is God's love, my relationship with the Heavenly Father.
Yes.
And I know He used my circumstances for me to be alone, because I was alone. Like I said, the complete
But that's
bankruptcy
why
of
you
alcoholism.
host all those parties
Yes,
and things
to just keep myself, when I was truly the anxiety and the nervousness and the not feeling like I was enough would almost be consuming me, you know?
That can kind of be like a drug in its own. too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
People can't be alone. They feel like
Exactly.
they need.
Oh,
other people,
my
they need
heavens.
certain things.
Yeah.
So it's
And
like,
I've had to
because
work
once you
on
get
that.
alone, then you really like you're alone with yourself. You have to see
Right.
yourself for who you are.
It's like, holy cow, who is this girl? Hey there, Jamie. Hey, I guess I have to think about things. And that was one thing I didn't want to do, y'all. I didn't
So
want to
that's the
have
reason for the wine. Drink the wine. So
Yeah,
have to
you could
think
just
about
numb it and you know, have
Yeah.
your very own little party inside your head until you weren't partying inside your head.
Yeah.
And I think what people don't talk about too is like, okay, you're doing it to take away the pain, but then when you sober up that next day, then you get
Oh
that
my
blow,
God.
and it makes it worse.
Oh, it is the most vicious, nastiest cycle you could ever imagine. And you wake up and, you know, I would go to bed and be like, okay, a firm resolution. I am not doing this
Right.
again.
You keep telling yourself
I
that.
am not
Yeah.
doing this again. Tomorrow is my day, you know? And then you wake up and it's like, oh, well, it's kind of rainy and I'm shaking and I don't feel good. So because it's raining, I think I'll try again tomorrow. And I'll try
It's
again
like
tomorrow.
every day. It's like every day is a new struggle. 'Cause
Every
then
day.
you say, "Oh, I'm not going to do it," and then you do it, so now you're ashamed and you're mad at yourself because you did it.
Because
right?
you did it. And it's just like, and people start to say, you're so selfish. Why can't you just quit? Just
So
stop.
that's the white knuckle sobriety.
That-
It means you think you can do it on your own.
You
with no help from
can
anybody.
That's what it means.
not
Okay.
do it on your own. I had to get help. And that was another blow. I thought, okay, fine. All right, I'll just stop. I'll just stop. No. And so, you know, I ended up, you know, I had to medically detox. I had to go through treatment. I had to stay in my steps. I have to stay in it because every single day is a battle. And that little devil will get right on your shoulder and be like, oh yeah, but you can. It's Christmas time. You can go out with the girls and have a glass of
And you
wine.
can't.
And I can't. For me, for the alcoholic, to drink is to die.
Right.
Wow.
And it's that, I mean, that sounds like, oh gosh, that's a little harsh. She's exaggerating.
Did you get
but
a
it's not.
sponsor?
Absolutely.
That's important to have a
Oh,
sponsor.
it's crucial. It's crucial. And now, part of my story now is sponsoring and giving
Oh,
back.
good.
So that's my
Good for
next
you.
step is,
Yeah.
that's the whole thing. And why I wanted to talk to y'all. If my story, my pain can be somebody else's lifeline,
Yeah.
thank you, Jesus.
Yeah, I think you can help
You
a lot of people.
know?
And I
Thank
think
you,
a lot of
Jesus.
people can relate, and I think you can also open the eyes to some people who don't realize that maybe they do have a problem.
Absolutely.
Because I mean, no matter how much it hurts, you need to know.
You absolutely.
And I do want to spin back to something.
Sure.
Because, and we call it one of the most selfish addictions. But do you feel it's fair? Because I feel like when it comes to drugs and alcohol, there's less sympathy there than there is any other addiction, or maybe vice versa. Because I feel like we're addicts to a lot of things. It could be food, it could be anything like that.
Yes.
But when it
Yeah,
comes
yeah.
to certain things like that were made or most known for an addiction, you get less sympathy for it.
Absolutely. And thank you, sweet girl, for saying that. Thank you. Because I have so much empathy for the addict who's still stuck in the vicious cycle, because nobody cares. Nobody knows that behind that sweet human is somebody who is dying inside and desperately wants to stop.
But for that person, the first thing they have to do is admit
You have
that they
to
have
admit.
a problem.
You have to admit that you're powerless against the alcohol. I mean, that's a must, and that's a big step.
It is.
That's a big
because
step.
a lot of people
They don't
feel
want
like
to.
they have
They
a problem.
don't. And for the longest time I didn't, And so, yeah, you're absolutely right. And so that's why I will, if people want to talk to me about it, usually what's so funny is they'll be like, well, can we talk over a glass of wine? You're not going to drink, but I need to. But I understand that they need to. They might be at that point in their life where they're going to shake.
Talk over the phone then.
Yeah.
have a glass of wine.
Yeah,
what's
while
funny?
you on the
That-
phone, yeah.
And I thank God, because it's an absolute miracle that I can go out and my friends, can have a glass of wine or whatnot. And I don't want that anymore. That's not, I know.
And to me,
what's-
that's important, because
Yeah.
people shouldn't feel like they have to put their life on hold.
On hold for
because,
me.
Right. I
No.
think that's being selfish. and
Absolutely.
you
That would
expect
be
people
so
to-
selfish
Yeah.
if I was like, oh, girls, we can only go to Subway.
Right, because I can't
Because
drink.
I can't drink, so we're
Right,
going to do
yeah.
whatever Jamie Lynn
No.
wants to do. No, and that's one thing that, that we were saying is I have empathy for the addict. I really, really, really do. But I also see the other side of the story. I see the family side of the story, the struggle, the pain, look at you, you weigh 97 pounds. You don't care. Why can't you fix this? And so now what I say is, being on the other end, it's not my fault that I had the addiction. It is my responsibility what I do with my recovery.
Right.
What I do with my recovery is 100% on me, because I know it. I know the steps. I know the tools. I've been taught. So there's no excuse for me now.
Yeah, because how I look at it is like, I feel bad that this person cannot stop whatever they're doing.
Absolutely. And if you can
they
look
don't
at
have
it,
that control to be like, okay, well, I'm gonna stop this now.
if you can look at it through those eyes, that's exactly what the addict needs. They don't need somebody coming to them saying, "You're such a loser." We know.
Right.
Or,
Yeah,
or like,
that just
and then
makes it
say,
worse.
and I've heard it too, said to other people, they just need to stop drinking. They need to stop doing this. But
Yeah.
how? You're
How?
not providing anything, but you're judging.
Exactly.
Provide some help or
Provide
something.
some
You can't
help.
Can the
put them down
judge
to make
can
them wanna
push
drink
them
more.
to even do it more?
Believe me, it happened to me. So I mean, it's
And what I
vicious.
also want you to mention is, because you mentioned about therapy, and I want you to mention how important it is to, after getting sober, or maybe during getting sober, that someone goes to therapy.
Oh
or
my
any kind of
gosh.
counseling.
Absolutely. It is an absolute must. I mean, it is like living in steps 10, 11, and 12 is exactly what I do, which is, going to your meetings. The Magdalene House in Dallas saved my life. And so I go back to meetings there. It's alcoholic women, and we're all fighting the good fight, staying in our steps, and then speaking to my sponsor every day. You have to speak to your sponsor every day. You have to share my story as much as I can, because that's where I get my high now these days, is in helping others. You know.
So basically, when you're saying therapy, you're thinking a therapist. It's the 12 steps, basically, is what you're
Absolutely,
talking about.
absolutely. And you know, I have
But
gone to
that is a form of
counseling.
therapy, though, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it is.
Like any kind of therapy. Sometimes, because there are some programs that they don't have anything like that. They rely on the community.
Yes.
And I feel like, well, yeah, but you don't know what their mindset is, though.
Oh my
you know what
gosh.
Because some people, just because you're sober now, doesn't mean you're just all positive and hey.
You're not just fixed, okay?
sometimes you
So
still
But you
go
gotta
through
be,
issues.
you gotta be around like-minded, like alcoholics. Y'all are in this group together, so
yeah.
y'all like-minded, so y'all can
That's
be
exactly.
a support to one another.
to understand. You know, like, so the best way I could describe it is like somebody who, you know, when they get nervous or whatnot, they just eat. You know, well, I think to myself, golly, what's wrong with you? I don't want, when I get nervous, I don't want to eat. That's the last thing I want to do. I don't have an understanding because it's not a struggle like that.
Right,
That's what I was saying about
You know,
the addictions. Yeah,
but
judging.
it's different. You know, we all have something. Now, I mean,
We do.
eating cupcakes isn't going to kill you. Drinking ridiculous amounts of wine is, you know. So there's definitely a difference in that aspect. But, you know, in some ways, there is that parallel, the similarity that we all struggle.
Eating too many cupcakes.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. You sure will.
Because that might be your last cupcake. You know what I'm saying? If you got diabetes or something. You know what I'm saying? It's all addiction, and that all leads,
It leads
overconsumption
to
of
unhealthy,
something.
Yeah, being unhealthy.
But then when it comes
Yeah.
to alcohol, we also have to understand the spiritual aspect of it as well. That's why it's called a spirit, because it brings back
that's
spirits. So we're wondering why, you know,
yes.
it's not that you can't function when you're drinking and you wonder why you're broke. It's just because you're bringing in bad spirits.
You
into your
are
body, into your home.
absolutely right. You are so right.
When I drink, bad things happen.
Yeah.
I don't drink anymore.
Yeah.
I stopped 2 weeks ago. I mean, it's just that when I did, even when having a glass, I'm like, I will feel a certain way, and it just got to where it was like, maybe nothing. It's just when I look at it now, sometimes I go down the aisle, I'm like, no. Yeah.
Yeah, it really
It
is
was so
so
turned
the
off by it,
norm. It's just the norm. And you know, when I had to admit that I was an alcoholic, the first thing I thought was, oh my gosh, well, how am I supposed to do like Christmas without a glass of wine? Or like, how am I supposed to go to my kid's wedding and
you can drink
not
some
have
cranberry
Yeah,
juice.
but that was my selfish mind thinking
But
that.
you know what? That's what I also wanted to bring up too. Alcohol is like a celebratory thing.
Oh,
Or like, like
Yeah.
you said, I had a rough day. Let's go. I need a glass of wine. The wine down.
The wine
or
down,
hey,
yeah.
you know, can I talk to you? I feel sad. Oh, let's talk over.
Or like at
Or
weddings, they always have alcohol.
Oh, your
to
birthday.
celebrate.
Let's take a shot. Let's do. You know, it's always something. And
Always
it's not
a
just
reason.
celebratory. It's like
Yeah.
anything.
Food and
Anything.
alcohol.
Yeah.
They use that. to
You're
celebrate.
absolutely right.
And it's always overconsumption of it.
Yes,
Like,
of both.
right, for sure. So.
All right, well, we are going to take another break.
Okay.
So we actually have to end this segment, but we are having such a good conversation that we are going to keep it going. So we're going to have a part two.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
All right, we'll see you guys next week.
All right.